In this video, we'll just work through some examples for some simple angle pairs. As a reminder from our last video, we had 3 different rules. We learned about vertical angles. Those look like this, where if I have 2 crossing lines, intersecting lines, and I have these angles that are opposite each other, not adjacent, but opposite each other, I know that in this case, they're congruent, so A would have to equal B. Our second rule we saw was for a linear pair. And as the name implies, makes a line, it's 2 angles, so there's a linear pair. And if we recall that a straight angle is 180 degrees, in this case we know that A plus B equals 180 degrees. The final rule we saw was for complementary angles. And complementary angles are just 2 angles that make a right angle. So I'll give you a different form than we saw before. If I have a right angle here, and I split it into 2 angles, A and B, it should be pretty obvious that A and B have to combine to make 90 degrees. So let's jump through a bunch of practice problems. This one, I see intersecting lines, I see this X, look for the X, and I see them on opposite sides. That's important, not next to each other. That means that this is vertical angles, and that means that X just equals 61 degrees. Okay, in this one, I see the right angle here, means we have the right angle there. That means that X and 53 are complementary angles. That means that X plus 53 equals 90 degrees. Subtract the 53 from both sides. And that gives me that X is equal to 37 degrees. Again, go to the calculator if you need to. Okay, I see crossing lines, but notice, these angles aren't opposite. I don't have X here and 56 degrees there. So these are not vertical angles. These are actually 2 angles that make a straight line. So this is a linear pair. And with a linear pair, we know that they make a straight line. We know a straight angle is 180 degrees. So we get X plus 56 equals 180. I'll subtract 56 from both sides. I get that X is equal to 124 degrees. Okay, in here, I see I have a right angle. Right angle here means a right angle there. That means that these two add up to 90 degrees, so they are complementary angles. And complementary angles add up to 90. So X plus 35 equals 90. I'll subtract the 35 from both sides, and that gives me that X is equal to 55 degrees. In this one, I see the crossing lines, but now I see that these are 2 angle and measure opposite each other. So that means we have vertical angles, and that just means X is equal to 58 degrees. Final example, I see 2 angles. I see when I put them together, I get a straight line. That means we have a linear pair. And that means X plus 124 degrees equals 180 degrees. I'll subtract the 124 degrees. I don't know why I stuck the degrees back in here. It doesn't matter for me, as long as I can include it at the end. Computationally, it can sometimes get in the way. I will end up with X is equal to 56 degrees. Okay, there's a link to the original video where I describe those 3 angle pairs in more detail, as well as a link to a worksheet down below.